Hi, Salam Alaikum. Sulaiman Rahim here, messenger of the covenant, breaker of the 7 seals. Welcome. Gnats and flies. Gnats and flies. The topic. The plagues. Brothers and sisters, consequence. Consequence is the most fundamental principle of the universe. Every action has an opposite but equal reaction. That's force. Force and consequence are synonymous. Same thing. Different aspects of the same thing. You reap what you sow. It says God is not mocked. When they say God is not mocked, that means there's no exceptions to that rule. Now, no exception has ever been an exception, nor will it ever be an exception, because that's the rule that governs the universe. It governs anything. That's the most fundamental principle of mathematics. All mathematics is based on that. That's why you have an equal sign. What's on one side has to be on the other side. That's also called justice. See, that's where these things come from. It says God is just. Well, if he's just, he has to be just all the time. If he says just, if he's unjust at any time, then that means he's not just anymore. He has to be just all the time. Let me take a brief segue here, and I'm going to make a note to make sure I don't get lost. Consequence. You know, this idea about prayer, and this is a big segue here. Just give you a little mathematics behind that. Everything is mathematics if you agree with that. Some of you won't. If you're into religion, you don't believe with that principle because your religion is not based on mathematics. So if you, in any kind of religion, I don't care what religion it is, if it's not the religion of mathematics, then you don't believe in mathematics. You may use it as a tool, but you don't believe in it. Use it where you can use it, but you don't believe in it. Because if you did, you wouldn't be in any religion. Because not one of those religions is based on mathematics. It's based on logic. It's based on reason. They're all the philosophies trying to explain what they can't explain. See, trying to explain the universe, their existence, all these things, trying to explain it. And that's what philosophies are. And that's all religions are philosophies. They're just philosophies. They're just beliefs. That's what philosophies are. Oh, I think this happened. I think that happened. They're just belief systems. They're philosophies. Okay. Now, consider the idea of prophecy. Now, when you think about prophecy, you have to say, well, first of all, do you believe in prophecy? Because if you believe in prophecy, it means you're predicting something that has not yet come to pass. Now, what's the process of doing that? See? Is that some mystical thing? Or is it a mathematical thing? Because we know mathematics is predictable. So you can put equation in and see what the result is. Mathematics is predictable. Logic is predictable. We know that, right? See, it's like you put a pot on the stove and put fire under it, right? And you have water in it. The math tells you it's going to boil. You can predict that it's going to boil. You don't know it's going to boil. You can predict it's going to boil, and it has yet not happened because you know the math of the situation. So, if everything is mathematics, that means everything is predictable. Now, without going into a lot of detail, we write history every 25,000 years, and there's a limit to the reason why it's 25. It's not just because of the Earth's rotation, because the computer power that it takes to do that is enormous. And we still have the power. It's not off planet. It's not here. See? So, if everything's mathematics, it's predictable. So all you got to do is, put all the math in and then see what comes out at the other end. See, they can go 25,000 years into the future. Exactly without any error, because it's total mathematics. Our minds are mathematics. Our genes are mathematics. They find out, because you thought you had some special spirit. Then they came out and found about genetics. They said, oh, no, you got a unique makeup. And it's made up of genes. It's not some spirit or spook. It's genes. See, genetics. You see? So you find out, the more they study, they find everything is mathematics. They have not found anything that's not mathematics yet. Everything that's in existence, they know about this whole creation, everything is mathematically based. You are mathematically based. Your thoughts are mathematically based. Neurons and everything else are all mathematically based. So when you know that means you can predict what everything is going to do before it does it. That doesn't mean you dictate. Now, you can dictate to a certain extent. I'm not going into that kind of detail, but it's not determinative. In other words, my actions are not determinative based on what somebody wrote, because I can change that. See, it's just predictive. It's not determinative. They say, oh man, that what will be, it's already predetermined, it's failure, and that's bull. All they did was see what you was going to do and wrote it down. See, they didn't determine what you're going to do. There's a determinative factor in there. You see. But that can be overwritten. But the thing is, okay, we write this history however it happens. If you agree that it's mathematical, it's a mathematical process, then consider this. You predict that this person is going to come and does this certain thing, right? Now say a meteor hits that person and kills them, and that doesn't happen, right? As you said, that means everything that follows after that is not going to happen, because everything had to be consistent, right? I mean, all the way down the line, you say this. So, and then because what you're saying is that you predicted what happens 10 years after that person based on what that person did. So that person never existed. That means the things that you predicted beyond that person won't exist. It'll be something else. You throw everything off. So everything has to fall right in place, right? If anything steps out of place, everything after that, you don't know, because everything based on after that was based on that. See, so everything based on tomorrow is what you saw happen today. What's based on next year is based on what you saw happen this year. So if this year turns out to be other than what you said, the next year is going to be something else that you don't know. That means the whole prediction process just fails after that. So it has to be 100% all the way down the line. It can't be any errors. It has to be exactly like it says. Everything has to happen exactly like they predicted. Because one thing out of place throws everything else out of place after that. That means the predictive property is lost. The prophecy is lost. The scripture is lost. Because one thing out of place throws everything else out of place. That's the one thing they worried about. They said Suleiman, because since he understood the prophecy, he's the first prophet that understood so clearly, he could change it. Now, why would he do it? They say that was a possibility. Elijah Muhammad talked about that. But why would he do it? See, because he would blind himself. Because prophecy itself, right, gives us foresight. See, it's a part of our foresight, because it tells us what's going to happen so we can see in advance. But if we change that, then that blinds us too. So why would he do that? He wouldn't want to blind himself, right? Because he's not walking around seeing into the future with his eyes. He's walking around seeing the future through scripture. So if he changed the scripture, I mean, he's blind himself. I'm getting to my point. So they predicted these things, right? Everything they saw, right? So say there's this God in the picture, right? And they said everything that they knew that he would do. They wrote it down. That's scripture, right? So this idea about prayer. So we're gonna break this down. If you think mathematics, we're gonna break this down. So the idea of prayer is getting God to do something that he wasn't intended to do. You see where I'm going? You're trying to get him to do something he wasn't intended on doing. So that's like something outside the scripture, because this is, he, like, oh, well, you're sick, and that's a consequence of, so heal me. But you wouldn't, you normally wouldn't be healed because you're going through the mathematics of the situation that you caused. So now you're saying God to intervene and do a miracle, do something that should not happen. That's in getting the territory of you're changing something, everything after it changes. So if prayer worked, scripture would be impossible. If everybody had free will, scripture would be impossible. If anyone had free will, scripture would be impossible, because that means you would do something that nobody expected you to do. So how in the world could you write the mathematics, because you don't know it, because the whole idea of prophecy is that you know what they're going to do. But if you don't know what they're going to do, then there's no possibility of writing prophecy, of prophesizing or seeing into the future. So you have to know exactly. So that means you couldn't possibly have free will. So when they tell you have free will, the Quran tells you think you have free will. It said those you do not. The Quran tells you you do not have free will. See, and you don't. See, that doesn't mean you have determined. You don't have that you don't have determination, but you don't have free will. See, and you have to understand vectors to understand that one, right? But you don't have free will. But you're not controlled by any prophecy. See, because all our actions is remember, every action has an opposite but equal reaction. So all your actions is a result of actions, all the actions around you. You see, so that means there's no free will. Because your actions are a result of all the actions around you. Every action has opposite equal reaction. Your action, this fact for you, you came to existence because of the actions of someone else, not because of your actions. You see? So we all reacted, interreacted with each other, and our actions are a result of all the interreaction with everyone else. And there's the same thing for them. So here you go, saying, okay, I'm going to pray for something, because if you did that, that means you would throw the prophecy off everybody else. So if God answered a prayer like they said he does, see, because that's what you think they're talking about. They're talking about something else altogether. Because if he answered prayers, then prophecy would be impossible, because he would do something that was outside of mathematics, outside of consequence. In other words, you were supposed to die because that was the mathematics of it, because you got cancer because you was out there smoking cigarettes, and then God intervenes and heals you. That wasn't supposed to happen, but now you're alive, and that means now you may produce children that you would not have normally produced, and change. So a chain of events that occurred that wouldn't have occurred if you hadn't made that prayer. That you said God answered. That tells you right there, prayer, if prophecy and prayer, they can't both coexist. If you can't have both. If prayer works, prophecy cannot work. If prophecy works, prayer cannot work. So the whole idea is that prayer does not work. Slots do work. That's a whole different thing. The Quran tells you that, but you don't pay attention closely. But what happens is that if you ask God to do something he was going to do already, you see there, then yeah, it will be answered, because he was going to do it anyway. Something he was going to do already. So you say, God healed me. He was going to heal you anyway. I mean, that was part of the prophecy, this whole prayer event. He was going to do it anyway. So you asked him to do something he was going to do anyway. There's no change in the prophecy. So in other words, everything falls in place. The mathematics is totally solid, right? But you didn't change anything. You just asked for something that God was going to do anyway. Everyone look at God in that sense. So that's the mathematics of prayer. Take or leave it. See? But if you in religion, you're not going to take it, because you're going to go beyond mathematics. That means you beyond reality. See, that means you're insane. If you're in any religion, you're walking around insane. You're walking insane. Like the Walking Dead. You are insane. You may be functional, but you technically insane. Because your whole reality is based on nonsense. It's not based on mathematics. And mathematics is reality. So you're walking insane. You got 8 billion people walking around totally insane. 8 billion people walking around totally insane, and you wonder why the planet's so messed up? And Suleiman has to come and rid the world of them, just like we had to rid the world of the fire angels. Because they was against, right, the mathematics of the time. When you're against the mathematics of the time, you refer to as the jinn. See, jinn is not a people, it's a concept, right? When you're against the reality of the time, right, then you are a jinn. That's what makes you a jinn. When you're against the reality of the time, you mean you're a good person. Being a good person has nothing to do with it. When you those fire angels were perfect beings, they were totally righteous beings, but they was against the reality of the time. Just like the gender wars, those people were righteous people. They was good people. They weren't evil. They weren't hurtful people, but they was against the reality of the time. They were the jinns. They would be destroyed. That's mathematics. If you go against the reality of the time, you're destroyed. And the reality of the time right now is mathematics, logic, reason, because the God of reason, the God of logic, the God of consequence has woken. He has been awake. He's been woken. He's awake now. So that means light. And when light starts shining, darkness disappears. Hope you understand that, brothers and sisters. See. But these people, the thing is, Adam was righteous as long as he was making mischief and shed blood, because that's the way he was made. So long as he was doing that, within that framework for the period of time he was doing it, that's why the Quran says, and at that time, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, right? But will they be unjust? I think it says the wicked will be unjust or something to that effect. I'll get the quote. But I said, what do you mean at that time? You mean they weren't unjust before? See, remember, Adam was just as long as he was making mischief and shed blood within the parameters, as the Quran said, the limits of Allah. As long as he was in the limits of Allah, but when he went above beyond that to persecuting and raping and all that kind of stuff, that's when his unrighteousness came in. See, but as long as he was making mischief and shed blood within the framework that Allah allowed him, he was righteous because he was operating according to the time frame that he was in. And that was a proper way to conduct yourself for that time frame. See? And the people that was fighting him once he came into 500 years ago, they were unrighteous. Sunnis, they're unrighteous. That's why they're the jinn. Because they say, oh, well, they see, because remember, Iblis didn't say Iblis was an unrighteous person. And listen to his argument. He got a good argument. Why am I going to make mischief? Why am I going to worship something like that? That makes mischief and shed blood. Why am I going to balance? That makes sense. Why I'm a righteous person and you going to make something evil and wicked and you tell me I got to go along with that? How does that register? And God said, no, you got to do that. He said, wait a minute, I'm not going to do it. He's got a solid argument. If you looking at it from an analytical point of view, he got a solid argument. I'm not going to submit to somebody that's wicked like that. I love you. I'm going to keep doing like you told me to do. But well, you're not doing what I tell you to do now. Yeah, but you tell me to do something that goes against everything that you've already taught me to do. And now you tell me to go against that and submit to someone that I know is going to make me shed blood and cause all kind of trouble. That's a solid argument until you understand the mathematics behind it, because for the time frame, that was not going to work. because Adam was the only one that had power to rule during that time. See, and you opposing him, you means you unrighteous. You out of sync with the universe. Because on the time of energy deprivation, they had the power to rule. Yet that's the mathematics of it. So the righteous that we consider righteous, they were unrighteous. The Sunnis are unrighteous. They're the jinn because they're opposing. I mean, from their point of view, even because they say you have to obey Allah's will no matter what. But they refuse to obey Allah's will. So even from that point of view, they're unrighteous. But they don't see it that way. They don't see themselves as a jinn. See, they see themselves fighting against wickedness, unrighteousness. And that sounds, if you into religion or if you don't understand mathematics, those arguments sound solid. They sound right. See, because for 5 years, and was righteous. He was doing God's will. This says he was following God's guidance. God was guiding him. So if God was guiding him, then he had to be righteous. He was doing God's will until he overstepped those bounds and went a little further than he was supposed. Then that's when he got in trouble. That's why he's running into judgment now. And that gets back to my gnats and flies. So I took a long way to get back to that, right? Gnats and flies. Because now they had to face judgment. If they had not went beyond the bounds or the limits of Allah, they would not be facing judgment. They still would be destroyed, but they would have been destroyed in a more civil, kind way, like they put an animal to sleep or whatever. I mean, there's things we could have done for them. See, we could have took them off planet and put them on a planet all by themselves, a planet that doesn't have any elements like iron and stuff like that, so they could ever build anything to get off and start causing trouble. They can never escape it, and let them live there. We didn't have to destroy them, because we got billions and billions and trillions of planets out there that you're going to inhabit. The Quran tells you the garden is wide as the heavens and the earth. You don't understand. It says the veil be pulled back and the universe be exposed, and you find that there's trillions of planets out there that you will inhabit. They're already habitable. They're already set up. You don't have to go and do anything. We could have took them, put them off planet, because they couldn't stay here. Because the pressures that we generate here would have been crushed them anyway. But there's way, if they had stayed obedient, we would not have destroyed them as they're going to be destroyed. They're going to be destroyed in such a way as they did. That's the consequence. See, their destruction is a consequence of their going beyond the bounds or the limits of Allah. The limits Allah set for them. See, by oppressing us. See, being a servant is a whole lot different from being a slave, and being a slave is a whole lot different from being raped, abused, humiliated, sodomized, and everything else. See, they went way beyond, and that's what they're being judged for. You see, if they stay within the limits of Allah, there would be no judgment for them because they did Allah's will. So why is Allah going to judge you for doing His will? See, so we'd have found a place for them, but now that's off the board, right? So gnats and flies. So we're talking about the 9 plagues. Now I explained that previously in my presentation about the plagues. See, gnats and flies. So I'm gonna try to give you some kind of a feel for what that's about. So just bear with me for a few minutes. See, I'm gonna take you through like a little scenario here, right? Say for instance, you in a house. You and your family in this house, right? And suddenly there's frogs everywhere. I mean, there's frogs in the refrigerator, there's frogs in the toilet, there's frogs in the microwave, there's frogs in the bed. I mean, there's millions of frogs all over the house. I said, what the hell? Suddenly, frogs everywhere. And before you can snap your finger, all of a sudden, you got a lice infection. Everybody's in the family, everybody's infected with lice. I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, you could see them. You know, you ever seen gnats when meat spoil? You know, you see all those gnats and worms or whatever. I mean, how awful that looks. All of a sudden, there's so many of them, you can see them crawling over people, or everybody, or the family and everybody. That infestation is crawling over everybody. Your dog just died and there's blood everywhere. You know, he's laying dead on the floor and blood everywhere from the dog. right? And the dog is stinking. See? And then all of a sudden flies come in. And they buzzing, millions of them, millions of flies just buzzing all over the place. And the gnats crawling all over you. And the frogs jumping all over you. You know, they trying to get the gnats to eat the gnats. Think about that. See? And so your family's going crazy and they fighting each other and fighting you, right? Trying to get out of the situation. So it's total chaos. It's total chaos. That's only a few of the plagues. And that's what it's going to be like in America. See, that's why I try to give you a feel of how it's going to be like in America in a few more days. That's why I said time unprecedented. I'm trying to get you a feel of what it's going to be like here. That's what it's going to be like. That's why they give you all these different things, right? So you try to give you, they like personifications of different effects, right? But they give you an idea. Because if you was in that situation, man, you couldn't imagine. I mean, that was like awful. And it says it's going to come suddenly in 1 year. So Americans be like that and worse. That's just a few of the plays I mentioned. It's going to be worse. That's the way it's going to be in America. So if you think it's going to be a nice little rosy thing, right? You're wrong. That's why it's telling you that. The war is the plague. The war, Armageddon, is the plague for America. All this is about America. That's why the plagues are coming on America. All the wars and everything, is the focal point of it is America. The war, goat is coming after America. See? America's getting kicked out. The Magog is getting kicked out of the Middle East. You know, Russia's going. Russia and Europe is going after. You know, going after America. All of us is focused on America, and then the people, the family, is going to be in turmoil. That's the demons in Canada. They're gonna go crazy because they're experiencing it too. They got the gnats and flies on them. Because they've been here experiencing that same thing too. See? And they're going to be angry, right? And they're going to be fighting about that. See? Because remember, they master's children. So they're part of the family. And they got gnats and stuff all over them. And flies buzzing around because they're here in America. And they suffering everything else. Then I say, come out of her, my people. Listen to damn Farrakhan. You're being here with that mess. That says, come out so you will not partake of this. It's the elect, they're going to be out. See, it said they came out. They got out. Some of you are going to be run out of the house under fire with gnats and lights and stuff on you, run out of the house with it, trying to get out of there. That's what it's going to be like. We ain't talking about hunger, no food. So they might have to eat that dead dog. You understand, brothers and sisters? There ain't no food. Well, the dead dog is stinking. It's been dead for days, and now that's the only food they got. I'm trying to get you to feel what it's going to be like. That's why they give you the 9 plagues. See, and I explained to you what those plagues are, so you have an idea. I told you it's details, give you more detail, a feel for what that war would be like. It gives you, because this nothing else tells you, well, there's going to be a war. America's going to enforce Israel. I mean, it's going to go, false going to be taken down. America and Britain's going to be kicked out. God will be kicked out, right? And they're going to kick. I mean, that's detail, I tell you. But it doesn't give you this kind of feel when you're talking about those plagues. Because you think, okay, in America, they still got McDonald's, they still got Popeyes, right? And they got the war over there. See, they might have some mixed up turmoil. But when you see it from the plague point of view, then you really get a big picture of exactly, of a closer idea of what it's going to really be like. So I held on there for so many years. Now I'm telling you because it's so close. So it's going to give you the feel. That's why time unprecedented trouble make children great. That gives you, because that gives you a feel that you never got before when he's playing, because they told me to play, they thought these plays were really gnats and flies and stuff. No, they're not. But it gives you a feel, if you put yourself in that position, if there were gnats and flies, how you would react to it, what kind of experience would be. So you relate that back to, the actual events, because it won't be gnats and flies, but it would be similar to your experience would be like it were gnats and flies and frogs. So it gives you a feel for how it's going to be. Hope you understand that. You see. Like someone says, oh man, it's going to be a bowl of roses. No, this event. We know it's not roses, but it's telling you, because it's going to be nice and sweet and, and very nice and scented. Because it connects you to something that will give you an idea of how the experience is going to be. It's going to be like roses. It's going to be like a bowl of roses. So it's telling you it's going to be like gnats and flies and frogs. That's what it's going to be like in America. Like all of those things. Like eating dead dogs. You see. Gnats are all over you so bad that you can see them crawling all over you, like you got dead skin, like pus all over your body. That's where it's going to be, brothers and sisters. And I only mentioned a couple of the plagues. And that's because of what they did. Because it's all that's going to happen. See, consequence is a B. See? So, for instance, you go out and steal $1,000. You think you got away with it. So now you got $1,000 worth of negative energy hanging around over your head. Then you still another $1,000. Now you got $2,000 with you. Then you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, it's there, but it's just darkness. And all of a sudden, you get up to 20,000, and then it turns to a thunderstorm and lightning start tearing your ass up. See, you see what I'm saying? It was building up, but you didn't feel the effects of it till you got to 20,000. All of a sudden, 20,000 units of energy of lightning energy is tearing your ass up. All of a sudden, all at one time, because it was building up. You wasn't getting away with it. You just saw it was getting dark. See, because it got dark and the clouds. See, all that stuff had. Look at another way. It takes a certain amount of things to come together to make lightning. Lightning just don't come out of nowhere. Right. So you building all the circumstances that would take to build that lightning. So you wasn't getting away with the consequence, but you was building up. All the things that's necessary to build that lightning bolt that tow your ass up. You understand? For all those things you've been doing. So you wasn't getting away with anything. Because no consequence is not delayed. It just the form it takes. So in other words, it could be instant. Like in other words, you stole $1,000, boom, you lose $1,000. You fall down and then you got to pay a doctor $1,000 to fix it. Or it just builds up, it builds up, it builds up, builds up. Right? And then a lightning bolt hits your ass. Consequences come many ways. It's just like, for instance, it's all kinds of ways to look at it. Okay, here you this person that you ripping everybody for money, and then you some kind of billionaire, right? And then you get this idea in your head that you're gonna move to this island, that you're gonna buy this island with that $1 billion that you got, right? You're gonna have this beautiful island, this paradise somewhere, right? See? You got the idea in your head. Why did you get the idea in your head? Because you got all that money. See, it was a negative idea, but you didn't realize it. Because if you didn't have that money, you wouldn't have the idea. So you go purchase the island, and you bring your whole family on the island, and then you find out, we wake up one morning, and the damn volcano explodes that nobody knew it was there, and burns all your asses up. You see? Because you created that, because you was doing evil stuff, so now that idea came in your mind, that negative idea, you didn't realize it was a negative idea came in your mind, take you someplace that was going to cause your destruction. Consequence works in all kinds of ways. And if you don't want to get screwed up by consequence, don't be doing stuff that's going to cause problems. Then you have to try to figure out how the consequence is going to get you, because it's going to get you, or it's going to get you. Consequence is going to get you. But see, now you got to figure out how is it coming, so I can duck. You can't duck. So don't create a situation, then have to worry about the consequence. Hope you understand that, brothers and sisters. See, but then you still got the situation where you have to start thinking mathematically, right? You have to understand the times and the mathematics of the times. That's what makes you righteous or not. That's what makes you a believer, when you in sync with the mathematics of the time. Like Adam was righteous because he was in sync with the mathematics of the time until he went overboard, went beyond that. And the righteous people that you thought was good people doing all the good things, they were unrighteous because they was not submitting to Adam, who was in step with the times for that time. But now Adam's out of step. So now consequences is tearing them apart. And like I said, it's going to come in one day, 1 year. So all this stuff's going to come on. All the consequences they've been doing over 500 years come in 1 year. It's going to come in so dramatically. It's going to come in so. That's why it's a time of unprecedented trouble. Because all the 500 years of all the hell they've done is coming on them in 1 year. Think about that. Think about that. It's going to come on them in 1 year. All the evil they've done, that they've done in the last 500 years, is going to come on them in 1 year. Come back to them and went all that added up. That's why it's a time of unprecedented trouble, because all that evil they did. See, it's like you were stealing $1,000 a day. So now you got $365,000 you stole for the whole year. You see. And that took a year to get it, but took 1 day to take it back from you. See? So everything they did, it would add up. And that's why it's going to be so dramatic, because it come in 1 year. All this stuff, it hit them in 1 year. And there's nothing they can do about it. Because everything they do will backfire. That's why you read it about the war. Armageddon, everything they do backfires. Everything, nothing works. That's why it says they run from the lion and run into the bear. And they run from get away from the bear, and they run home, and they rest their arm on the wall, and the snake gets them. Nothing will work for them, because all they got is bad. All that negative energy they built in the last 5 years is coming on them all of a sudden. That means negative energy is bad luck. So they have nothing but bad luck in every respect. You already see that happening right now. And then what's happening? And this is more complicated. I'm not going to try to get to a little detail here. But now they got a man that's totally incompetent that's running this. And they're going to blame him for it. Oh, they're going to blame him for it. You see? That's the reason why everything's going bad, like that Afghanistan thing. Oh, because if we had somebody in there like Trump or somebody intelligent, it doesn't matter who they put in there. And this is just my opinion. I'm not getting this from scripture. But they're going before a month into this, he's out of there. So is Kamala. They're going military coup. They're going to take it over because they're going to think because everything's going to be going so bad. First they got knocked out of the Middle East by Iran. How does that happen? And now they're at war with Russia getting their ass kicked. And then all the stuff that I say happening here, the gnats, the flies, all the plagues that happen here and out there, plague everywhere. So they're going to get rid of him because they're going to blame him. It's just like this about the Jews in America. They're going to be on the supreme fire. They're going to try to have a final solution for them here in America, because they're going to blame them too. Because now that they false system went down and evangelicals, right, they was totally wrapped up into them being a real McCoy and all that stuff for 40 some years, found that they was lied to, that they weren't, and really they wanted to be lied to. Then they're going to blame them for all the hell that they're going through because they was lying and we was the true seed of Abraham. So the ones that's here, they're going to try to eradicate them. They're going to try to eradicate them. They're going to try to burn them just like Hitler did. Try to burn them up here. That's another aspect. That's why it says they're the flies. See, when you do with flies, you get a fly swatter. See, that's why I call them the flies. They're the Jews that here are going to be the flies. See, and they're going to try to kill them all. They're buzzing because you're the reason why all this is happening. They're going to blame everybody. See? They be blaming us. See, because they're not going to sit and realize that it was their actions that caused all of this. But it doesn't matter. But they're not going to accept that. They wouldn't do it anyway because they can't, because that's the nature. That's who they are. See? Because you can't blame them for following their nature. That's their nature. But you, if you call yourself human, right, then you should have a certain amount of discipline, and they should have disciplined themselves to stay within the limits of Allah, within the guidance. They didn't. That's why the judgment's coming in. So 500 years of coming all at once, and like the Jews, they're gonna be in trouble here in America. They're gonna say, "You're the reason that foreign powers was giving you all this stuff. You're the reason why we got in this war in the Middle East, and now we're in Russia, and all this is your fault." They're going to be in trouble here in America. See? Everybody's going to be in trouble here in America if you're here. That's why it says, come out of her, my people. If you don't, so that's why you got Farrakhan telling you, stay here. See, all the demons, they're going to be suffering all this too because they're here. We're trying to get you out of here. But if you go through tribulation, you're going to be right in here with this. That's the way it's going to be here. A time of unprecedented trouble. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I'm trying to give you a feel for what it's going to be like here. See, a lot of you, right, especially 144,000, will never hear the faintest sound of the raging and roaring of hell. See, that's real hell. Hell is some place where you're on fire. If you was in that situation with lights crawling over you and flies buzzing all around you and frogs jumping all over you, right? And you got a dead dog, wouldn't you call that hell when you're stuck in it? See? They give you all these crazy ideas. No. That's a terrible situation. See? And you're itching and everything. And this, I mentioned I feel a couple of plagues. And they got all this trouble going on here. There's no peace, nothing. Nothing but pure hell. 500 years of all hell condensed into 1 year. And then it says at the end of that, they'll just be burned down with fire. See? Because when you see a house infested like that, the only thing you can do is just burn it up. You can't go in there with no bug spray. When you see a house infested like that, you have to burn it down. Ain't no bug spray gonna solve that problem. So it says that end up, they would just burn down. America would burn down. But Farrakhan telling you stay here. So you and you still listening to that. Well, brothers and sisters, you keep listening to that. And you be sitting right here, eating gnats and flies right along with him. Because he will be here for that. He's not going anywhere. You think he's going to die? No. This is about to jump off any minute, and he will be in all of that. We got a little something for him too, but he's going to be in all of that. He's eating gnats and flies like everybody else. All the rest of the demons. That's what time it is, brothers and sisters. And let me reiterate again. Your righteousness depends on you in sync with the times. That's what makes you righteous. Whatever the situation is, when you in sync, and then right now, being in sync with the time, being in sync with the angel, and being in sync with Master Prophet Muhammad, that's the time that will make you righteous. That's what makes you a believer. That makes you continue to move forward into time, a time traveler, transforming energy from one form to another, moving forward into time. See, it doesn't matter. You sitting right here, well, I'm a good person, or I do this, because, and if the story about Noah's flood, right, was the babies, were they innocent? No, they were innocent, but they were drowned because they was part of being out of sync with time. That's what makes you righteous. That's what makes you a believer. And at times right now, as I've been explaining to you, and I'm the only one explaining to you the nature of the time right now, because no one else knows the nature of the time right now. That's why Farrakhan doesn't talk about it, because they don't know. You have to be on time. I mean, that's pretty obvious. If you're out of time, if you're out of season, you're in trouble. So you have to be in season. You have to have the knowledge to be in season. And the Quran is putting you in season because it's explaining everything to you. So you be in season. So you be on time in sync. So you keep moving forward in time with the God. See? Adam was in sync for 500 years. Now his time is over. He's out of sync now. That's why everything is falling apart. But now we're in sync. See? So we will be successful because we're in sync with time, because we got the whole universe behind us. When you're in sync with time, you got all the force of the universe behind you. They're like a backwind. When you sync with time, all the force of the universe is behind you. Allah is mathematics, and mathematics with you 100%. But when you're out of sync with time, you got the whole universe against you. Think about that. When you're out of sync with time, the whole universe is destroying you. It's seeking to destroy you. It's trying to take you out because you're out of sync with mathematics. When you're out of sync with mathematics, mathematics destroys you. And now Adam's out of sync with time. He's out of sync with mathematics, right? And so now you see the pressed whole entire, that's why you see this is going to be so bad, because the whole universe is against them. The whole universe is against him. He cannot win. But when you get in sync with the angel, the universe is behind you. There's a tailwind that's pushing you ahead, and you can't lose. You can't lose. Because the whole universe is for you. It's behind you. Our enemies, the whole universe is against, because mathematics is coming in like a supernova, and they're all in darkness with their religion, philosophy. So they'll be destroyed. They'll be destroyed. Because mathematics will displace all that philosophy. You can't argue with mathematics. You can argue with philosophy, but you can't argue with mathematics. And mathematics moving in, if mathematics move in, all other BS has to go away. Mathematics is like the light that dispels darkness. When mathematics moves in, and that's what angel is, because you're being taught mathematics. You're being taught the mathematics of everything. The mathematics behind Yaqub, the mathematics behind Dr. Shabazz, the mathematics behind energy deprivation problem. You taught the mathematics of everything. They don't tell you the mathematics of anything because they don't know. And there's no mathematics to support anything they're saying. So mathematics moves in, all that philosophy is destroyed. That's the truth. Knocks out the brain of falsehood. Because you can't fight mathematics. You can come up, you got your cell phones based on mathematics. Now let somebody bring in a Hindu phone, or a Sunni phone, or a Christian phone. They can't do it. Let them bring in a Sunni car, a Christian car, a Hindu car, a Buddhist car. They can't do it. So if those realities are real, how come they can't produce anything from it? If those realities are real, how come they can't produce anything from it? Produce me a Hindu car. Show, if your reality is real, you should be able to produce a Hindu car that runs off of Hindu principles, or Scientology principles, or Christian principles. You cannot do it, because everything runs off of mathematical principles. That means mathematics is the true reality. So that means it's going to blow away all your false realities. Assalamu alaikum.